Everybody out there, welcome to the round 5 feature match for the North American Premodern Championships. I'm here with Dmitri Novikov for commentary. Say hi, Dmitri.
Hey, gang.
So
Uh,
the match today is we've got Jens on Elves, so we can start talking about that. Did you expect Jens to play Elves, Dmitri?
I did not expect him not to play Elves.
Ah.
Um, that was well, not in this photo, but his playmat is coming up. I, uh, I included in my pre-modern trip report. I'm the guy who made the Platypuvian horde happen.
So what do you
If
think
you
about
see,
the?
if you've seen that abomination,
So what do you think about the deck list he's got going?
yeah, it's pretty much. I think he was bragging about the fact that I can't pronounce his name properly. Ule Rade,
Yep.
Sylvan Safekeeper, essentially was running, I think, the main deck one for one. Uh, I think it's basically canon at this point.
Mm.
These are the little green men that everybody's so afraid of. Um, yeah, very, very stock, very canon.
Yeah, I never.
Not
Anytime
sure.
I play one, I never know. Sometimes, like, it doesn't seem like everybody necessarily runs a Kamal. Sometimes there's a little different route than the Tangle, but they'll still have the Tangle wires in their sideboard.
Hmm.
So there's always a
Yeah,
little individual flavor to any build.
well, I know that Ula had four Wall of Blossoms
Mm.
in his sideboard. That was like really good tech against aggro.
Yeah,
But for the most part, I think this list is just so optimized. There's not a lot of
definitely.
reason to deviate.
Yeah.
Um, I I have seen Elf players tweak the number of Masticores if they're expecting lots of
Mm.
Plague Spitters. But no, for the most part, I mean, there's a reason why this deck is so feared, so revered, and so awesome. Like it's a basically, it can be a combo deck. It can be like an aggro deck, and it can just do like elf shenanigans if it doesn't have the survival online. With the survival, it's just a rolling ball of punches. Um, Always frightening to play against. But I guess in this matchup, you have the counterbalance to it, but it keeps it in line, keeps it in check.
Definitely. I'm trying to see if there's anything else special in here that I. Oh, well, we can jump over to Sligh. So we've got Aaron Dix as Yen's opponent. He's on Bobble Sligh. Go figure. Didn't expect that deck either. So.
Oh yes. Well, but that's I think another example of a very well-established list. Something very, very optimized at this point. Aaron is the innovator who added the baubles, and he got pretty high praise from Mike Flores, saying that the deck is so smooth. And from having played that deck, I can attest it's true. Like this thing just hums along.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Uh,
not having played it is so you have fetch lands, and that helps smooth out the mana issues. Which it's not in this case. It's not really trying to smooth it out. It's doing the same purpose of thinning the deck faster,
mhm.
get those lands in play. But having the baubles on top of that just made it even better. Would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because essentially, I mean, the information gain that you get from Bobble is
Yeah.
like not insignificant.
Mm-hmm.
I I was able to see a Oath of Druids off of a Bobble. That
Ooh.
completely changed like my
Yeah.
turn one play.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
the other thing to note is because they go directly to the graveyard, they are feeding the Lavamancer,
Yep.
which is super important because this deck is essentially a combo deck that just tries to line up together 20 points of damage in the most efficient way possible. And having spoken to Aaron, he's the one that says that deck thinging like on its own doesn't matter, but when you have multiple fetches together, the effects are cumulative. They're
Mm-hmm.
building on each other. And that is true because in later turns you're, less likely to draw lands, more likely to draw that missing burn spell
Yep.
that you get off the top. Uh, some people I think are not always fans of the bobble. I've seen people who are saying that the tempo loss hurts you. I know some people think that the vortex is clunky, or maybe the core
Mm.
scroll is not what you want to be doing. But we know that Aaron has put up some amazing results with this list,
Yep.
and I think that in this matchup, he's probably pretty favored.
Sounds good. Well, let's go to game one to see how it pans out.
Yeah.
As you can see, there's a nice there's a nice like
Yeah.
quarter-second delay. It's always fun
Well,
when they reach across the table and it's like, what's going on?
yeah. But that's the platypus that I promised everybody. I prophesized. I had that guy photoshopped on the head of a Balduvian horde. So
Nice. That's such an awesome map.
yeah. No, definitely is. And I think people ran with it a bit too much. They're talking about basically any deck that Jens played, they just slap like a platypus or a platy somewhere ahead of it,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh.
on the back of the playmat himself.
Oh yeah, for my birthday, Jens made me a plata curd ape. I was like, yeah.
Nice.
If it was only legal in this format, it's like, why didn't you reprint it? It was so good. I remember when it was banned in it. What, extended? I think it was that Juggernaut maybe. It was. You just look back at those days, and it's like, why would you do that? It was back when like no one wanted to waste space for disenchants and stuff. It's like, well, the good players knew what they needed, and this is going to be one of those matches. They knew what they needed. They don't have any chaff, and well, that's a slow start for Elves. Just the forest. Oh no, he has an elf. Sorry, I couldn't. I need to watch the screen. Okay, that's better. Now it's dead. I just prophesized about that.
Yeah.
There was no elf, so.
But this is well, it's part of the game plan. Like when I was talking to Aaron specifically about how to play it, I've talked to a couple of players about the proper way to play this matchup, and yeah, it's basically shoot anything that moves, because the way that Elves gets rolling is by producing a lot more mana than anybody else.
Yeah.
Keeping the mana dorks down means that you're playing a very mana light deck, because I think it's only about 17 lands. You have the cradles, and you have the mana dorks, which makes it kind of acceptable. But you need elves online, so that priest is active, so that cradle is active, and Aaron has a lot of really really good answers for ones that produce mana.
We got a fanatic. Oh, fanatic's gone.
Yeah. So the way Aaron wins this is if he just plays the control, just clears a way for his Jackal Puffs, for his Ball Lightnings. Mock Fanatic is probably going to be sacrificed a lot. It's worth it to take out any blockers and keep him off mana for as long as possible. And of course, Lavamancer, if it can stay fed, is going to keep that board clear. I'm pretty sure that the way that I would lose or have lost to Elves on Sligh was basically what Yen seems to be doing right now. You get the mountain, you get the anger, so at least you get activations from your guys, and you just want to put up like critical mass, because survival with Squee gives you a never-ending stream of creatures, basically. I mean, your mana dictates how many of them come in, but again, he has to grind it out. He has to survive the initial onslaught. And let's see if he's able to do that here. I can't really tell. I think that's a... Oh, no, Finhorn Elf.
Tangle.
Okay. Yeah, Tanglewire is usually... I think it's been said that Elves is the best Tanglewire deck in the format. But one of the reasons why Aaron's deck is so smooth is that it can actually throw a lot of burn spells at instant speed. I mean, the Bauble gives you the delayed draw. There's a reason why he doesn't play Seal of Fire, right? He wants to draw instants. He wants to be shooting them. So even if a Tanglewire is online, he's going to try to make use of his mana, as we saw with the Incinerate. And for Aaron, it's also important to know when does he switch from the creatures to the face. And it looks like life totals are 17 to 6. So at one point he has to switch from the board to the dome, and Aaron is really, really good at making that decision.
It looks like elves might. Let's tap a couple more.
Yeah, so he has the. Oh, okay. There's the
Survival.
survival. This is kind of what you want. So you have like the Quirion, yeah, all the mana dudes,
Yep.
giving you. I'm not sure. Is he attacking here?
Good question.
Man, Jens was not kind to the camera. Not only is there a lot of glare, all of his cards emit their own light.
Yeah, good point.
Uh,
Darn shiny things.
yeah.
Well, part of the problem was me. I need to go get the reflective like umbrellas to for next time.
Oh, I see.
That'll at
Yeah.
least take care of the glare from the
Well,
lights, not from the
Jared
blend.
Doucette gave this wonderful advice of making sure that the light source is from behind you as opposed to right directly above from you. It definitely helped me quite a bit. Um, okay, so
Fetching.
it looks like, yeah, Elves is also going it was an attack. It was going the aggro, right? So now I guess the question is, does Aaron have the Fire Blast and a burn spell to finish him off? It looks like he's holding one card in hand. Um, I don't believe Jens has any main deck ways of gaining life except for the Well-Wisher.
Well,
But he's going for
yeah,
Hermit.
if he goes for a
I guess,
well-wisher, it's active with the because it's already got the anger right in its graveyard.
yeah, yeah. But if he has the anger, then yeah, as they say in the realm of Commander, I don't have whatever removal, I have player removal. Taking your opponent offline is another way of finding answers. And it looks like we have some very creative squirrels. And a big attack for a lot of damage.
Swing with 4 rodents or
yeah, 4 rodents and 4 elves. Oh, I think we see a bolt probably on the hermit.
Yeah, that would shrink the squirrels. How much has he taken? Took 10 down to 1.
Well, live another day.
Unless he top decks. Nope. He must have scooped. Must not have been videoing much for that. So going back, I guess, to the sideboard options.
Yes.
What does Elves bring in that it's got handy? I'm assuming Collar of the Claws in the sideboard.
Color of the Claw is in the sideboard, but it's not necessarily the card that you want against Sligh because usually you're trading 1-for-1, so you can make bears, but I think your upper bound for that, what you're going to get, isn't necessarily as high as it would be against something like a Perish or a Wrath.
Yeah, makes sense.
I've actually asked Jens against Sligh, like what does Elves bring in, just so that I know what to anticipate. And he initially said that obviously Masticore is very, very good because if you can make him stick around, he's able to regenerate. You probably are going to try to ride that to victory. You probably won the Spike Feeder because, anything to slow down the burn is pretty good. Will-Wisher number 2.
Will-Wisher number 2 for sure.
Genesis. I have seen Genesis come in. In fact, after I brought in the Tormod script to make sure that the Squee doesn't get out of hand, Anger and Genesis were both put into the graveyard. So it's basically another way of, I guess, getting value off of survival or reusing your creatures. And I think that what's coming out are probably the Tangle Wires. As we've seen, they're not at their best in this
Yeah.
particular matchup. Um,
Let's see. And then going on to Sligh, let's see what options they have. Price of Progress isn't really worth it. What is that? A Vortex?
no, you're essentially are getting two damage off of that.
Yeah.
Because they can't have more than one cradle at a time.
Yeah.
I think it's actually pretty much the vortex and the two lava darts.
Yeah. Lava
You
darts for
could
sure.
shave baubles for those. You could
Mm-hmm.
also bring in a Tormod script if you're really worried about the survival path, but I think you still want to stay competitive.
Mm-hmm.
You still want to stay as aggressive as possible, so you probably just shave the three baubles for the vortex and the two lava darts. Keep one bubble in. I Yeah, Press of
Crypt.
Progress. You can only have one cradle, so sorry.
Yeah. Is Crypts worth it against elves? From a Sligh standpoint?
Um,
I mean,
I
they're
mean, in
not.
this case,
It's not like it's a
no,
recurring nightmare kind of deck. It's just throwing things in the graveyard to get other things, and just try to
yeah, I mean,
roll over.
Crypt can essentially take care of Squee, which,
Mm-hmm.
can stop, or at least not necessarily stop, but it can at least slow down
Mm-hmm.
um, Elves. But I don't think it's worth the slot. I don't think it's worth the card in this matchup. Like, you really want to be as aggressive as possible because we saw that Elves is able to come back if it goes unchecked or gets out of hand,
Yep.
and it feels like the Crypt is a bit reactive. Um,
Makes sense.
I brought it in, but that's because I didn't have the third vortex in the sideboard.
Let's see. So it looks like the guys are just getting the mulligans taken care of.
hmm
Yep.
Obviously, vortex is very, very important against live gain decks.
Yep.
It's Sly's one of Sly's few answers to Nishoba.
Yep. Yeah, cutting away that life gain from a Shoba or Well Wisher or
Yeah, the
anything
Well-Wisher,
else.
the Feeder.
It's a yeah. It's like if you can stop, if Sligh can stop the opponent from gaining 5 life, 10 life, whatever, it gives them the better chance to run it out. If your opponent's always at 20 for Sligh, it's not going to be an easy task to win.
No, not a winning proposition.
Let's see
All right.
if they like these hands.
So I remember listening to an old episode of All Things Considered where it was Mano and Oland,
Mm-hmm.
and they were basically talking about Sly's role in the meta. This was before Elves became the dominant beast that it was.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they were kind of saying like, well, I mean, why is Sly there? What problem is it solving? And I do think that it is solving the Elves problem. I mean, it solves other problems as well. I
Mm-hmm.
remember last year we had the tide control decks that were
Yep.
coming in, and when they asked Eric Vogt, like, what's how do you stop your deck? He's like, monocolored aggressive decks stop my deck.
Yeah. Oh, I
So
guess it looks like Aaron had to do another. Oh no, that was just fetching.
yeah. Uh, what do we have here? That's a Lavamancer and a Fanatic.
Fanatic and
And
something that looks white. Something that's way. It's like, is it?
something that's attacking. So
Yeah,
if we see two life going down, then it might be a
a
pup.
pup could be a pup.
If we see one life, then it's probably a Fanatic. But I mean, either way, that's pretty good position because it looks like he fetched at least once. He has the
Yeah.
Fanatic, so he can kill one. Is that a Well-Wisher? Okay,
Oh,
that's is that an Acolyte? Looks like looks like
vortex.
something dead.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is that?
Vortex is huge.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that'll
Oh man.
that makes it harder to come out from behind that thing.
Yeah, I think the main solution that Elves has for that is the Vigilante, which is quite a mana-intensive ordeal
I think the
to get
sideboard
out,
had
essentially.
naturalized though too, right? I can't remember if it had. Seems it might be
Yeah,
checked. It's like Is it a deck you bring it in against?
Um, well, you bring it usually against the Engineer Plate decks.
Mm,
That's mostly what that and the Elvis Champion are for.
mm-hmm.
I don't think you want to go that reactive
Yeah,
against Sligh because they only have. I mean, you're not gonna use it on a bobble. It's never
no,
gonna hit
yeah.
anyways. Um,
It's like
and
Tangle
yeah,
and
for the
Cursed
two
Scroll
Vortex,
and two
yeah,
Vortex. Yeah,
Curse. Yeah, exactly. So
yeah,
Curse Scroll, I don't know if that's a card
yeah,
that you're too worried about.
yeah,
I mean, yes, sure. You are worried about what I'm saying is it comes down a lot later, and it
yeah.
kind of is mana prohibitive for Sligh
Mm-hmm.
to use. Yeah, that's probably part of the challenge because both these decks are so tuned
Yep,
that it's kind of hard to you really pay a steep price for bringing anything that is not all business.
exactly.
Um,
Something that you don't want to bring in something that has only one purpose and then they sided out that one thing. You want something that can deal with.
yeah,
If it doesn't, you want it to be able to work on like items A, B, C. You don't want it just to work on one thing and then never see it.
yeah, and I mean Masticore is kind of a good answer to Curse Scroll. It can
Mm.
race it and it can keep the board clear.
Yep.
Like you're doing me two, I'm doing you four,
Yep.
and you can't attack me with Ball Lightning. And your Lava Man will never activate. So I
At most, it activates once.
again, it might be good. Lava Man?
Oh no, no, sorry, I was getting
It, it,
get
it,
wrong.
it,
The
yeah, because the Masticore
yeah,
would hit it.
yeah, if you
Oh,
shoot
speaking of Masticore,
score.
there he is. So now Aaron has like Aaron basically has two ways of getting rid of it. One, he needs a window like this where there's no mana for regeneration, or by using
Yep.
an incinerate, which deactivates the regeneration.
Yeah. So it looked like Jens just scooped because it was pretty much a no go at that point.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure early on. Basically, everything that Sligh wanted to do. That's probably the biggest elf nightmare around here.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, I'm just trying to look at all the other things that are worthwhile. Sharpshooter can't really help you because
Mm.
he dies after a single activation. Um, and you need anger to even get that activation.
Yep.
You really want to try to gain life as fast as possible. You don't want to start counting down on your creature count. And yeah, this is what I was saying. This is a 17 land deck, so
Yep.
unless he has guys on the board, Cradle doesn't do much, and Priest is an overpriced mana dork.
Yep. Hmm.
You need that critical mass. I think Kamal is coming out because he's definitely too slow
Yeah.
for a matchup like this. Like you want big mana, you want dominant board position for him to win.
Yep.
And right now this is kind of like a struggle for survival of the fittest, one might say.
Hmm. Interesting.
Um,
I know. I'm trying to think.
Again,
What? If nothing's like a. There's no tricks in the deck that you would side something in and side something out. It's pretty. Looks all straightforward. I don't know. Game
yeah,
it's
and
like he didn't really see anything out of the sideboard that we know of. Well, wish it might have been from the sideboard because
mhm.
it would just increase the chance you drew it. But anything else he brought in, we didn't see. So for
Well,
Sligh, I'm assuming there's nothing new to try
no,
out. No.
I don't think that the, the there's any need to actually try to board something and board something out. Like both
Mm.
these players have tested this matchup countless time. I
Oh
know
yeah.
that Aaron tested against Anton quite a lot, and Jens has probably played his fair share
Oh
of
yeah.
this matchup. I'm pretty sure that they know kind of how they have to win, what they have
Yeah.
to do. There's
Yeah.
not a lot of tricks, and like this is a case where if you overcomplicate it,
Yep.
you're just gonna end up it's just gonna backfire on you.
Yeah.
Like the plan for these decks is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
They're very good at what they do. That's why they're tier one decks. Elves is arguably the most powerful deck in the format, and Sligh has earned the nickname of the Fun Police. But yeah, no, these these games are definitely tough on both players. They're
Yeah.
very draw dependent, and they're obviously if in normal games you have some tolerance for mistakes, you do not get it
Mm.
here. I think Flores said that with Elves you need like 3.5 take backs a game, but you only get like one take back, so it's kind of hard.
Mm.
Obviously Jens doesn't need any take backs, and neither does Aaron.
Yep.
Um, this is
I think
two
this is the
masters playing their signature decks. This is just a slugfest. We gotta
yep.
see who has it.
Couple seconds, the screens will come
Um,
back. this is
yeah.
this is a
Plus,
dead section I have to cut out.
that's okay. I do know that this seems to be a match that both players have already played in the past. I
Mm.
believe this is a replay of their Eastern Championship finals, where they both basically played the same decks. And I'm pretty sure
Oh,
Aaron
the
won
spring
that one.
fling or before that.
I thought it was the Eastern Championships.
Mm.
I think that's what Aaron said. I could
Mm.
be wrong. So I'm glad we're immortalizing my words so that I can eat them later on. Hmm. I would like to take a moment to point out how gorgeous both these playmats are.
Yeah, it's fun all the options out there now for playmats. And even then,
Yeah.
it's like some of these are like throwbacks. Like I know Jens's is from Sydney in 2014. I didn't even come
Yeah.
back to Magic at that point, so it was like seeing
Mhm.
all these sweet playmats. I don't even think I had it. Yeah, I didn't have a playmat because no one really had them or used them that often back in 2004. It's like
Yeah.
what? Just something else to buy?
Mm. Yeah. What what's wrong? I have a table, I have a napkin. I have sleeves.
Yeah, sleeves. Now it's like, do you have
Oh
double
man.
or triple sleeves?
Yeah, exactly. But I guess now you have more of a reason to. I mean, back then the cards are the same cards.
Yeah,
If you wanted to sleeve a Lotus back then, like you have all the reason in the world to triple sleeve a Lotus as well.
yeah.
Speaking of sleeving Lotuses, on day two of LobsterCon, in the uh, old school portion. I
Mm-hmm.
was seated. Mano was my opponent, and to my left was Zach Hill,
Mm-hmm.
and neither one of them had like playmats. I just purchased mine from Jeff, Recurring Nightmare, which
Mm-hmm.
my daughter absolutely forbade me to buy, but she's not the boss of me. Jeff gave me a bunch of Goblin tokens to appease her. If you look through my photos, you'll see us playing with those Goblin tokens. She but I mean, every time she sees that recurring nightmare playmat, she runs out of the room. Um, so I just purchased it. He's my round one opponent. He's like, no, no playmat. Zach Hill, no playmat. I just gave to the peer pressure. I put mine back in the backpack.
Nice.
All right. Okay.
Looks like we
So
got
this
a
is about as good of a
Flores
start as we
elf
can expect.
and elf's dead.
Yep. And the elf dead. Yep. I mean, this is what they both have to do.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like
so
birds of paradise. When you see one, you're supposed to kill it. So it's the same with elves. It's like
yes.
you gotta just kill every one of them.
Um, there
Or
was
are you
only
supposed to?
one time when I didn't kill the bird. I let the Llanowar elf survive against elves, but that was for strategic purposes. I needed to get a dreadnought going. But other than that, yeah. So Tom Matelski actually had a very interesting point about this. The elves player might actually want to run mana dorks in front of Sligh to try to bait out as much burn as
Burn as
possible
possible.
so
Yeah.
that your symbiotes can survive.
Yeah.
Because that's definitely a big part of the game plan and a grindy matchup.
Mm-hmm.
You want to try to use them as much as possible. Okay, Barbarian Ring. And are we on the Jackalpup plan? Ooh, Curse Scroll. All right. It's going to be a bit painful to activate with this mana base, and right now we're a bit off of Fire Blast mana. Not that it's super relevant right now, unless you want to take down a unexpected Masticore. Uh, but it looks like we're off to two elves. One elf. Uh, so Yeah, it looks like Aaron killed something during his end of turn. But I mean, Vermilion Ring is also not nothing.
Mm-hmm.
The power that you get from fire blasting and then just, floating the mana, throwing a burn spell, and it giving you exactly 7 cards to activate the ring for the final 2 points of damage.
Yep.
This is what I was talking about when I was saying that this is such a well-tuned machine,
Mm-hmm.
and this is such a tough matchup. But we've seen that elves can get out of it. Usually it involves survival. What have you got? Oh,
Symbiote.
symbiote
Yeah.
and acolyte.
Might be an acolyte. Yeah.
Okay, that's always a nifty combo. Oh, not unless the combo is dead. Yeah,
Also nifty.
the well, the sequence is you always have to make sure that you kill the symbiote first. I know it sounds obvious, but multiple people have issued me that warning, and it sounded like, a warning that comes from experience. Yeah, that's why I ask all these questions, so I can, have other people make my mistakes for me. Not that I make any less mistakes afterwards. I just make less obvious mistakes. Uh, all right, so looks like the pup has gotten in multiple times, which is basically what you want to do. So you can start focusing on the dome.
Yep.
Uh,
I was gonna say we haven't even seen one fire blast right through 2 games.
I mean, you really don't want to see more than one fire blast per game.
Good point.
Usually it's one of the last cards that's being cast.
Yeah.
The only time I've seen 2 fire blasts cast in the same game is when I was playing Dead Gale against Sligh. I played a Masticore when they were basically tapped out. They had like 2 mountains of Barbarian Ring. I
Mm-hmm.
did not expect uh, the 2 mountains to be sacrificed to get Masticore offline, but that's a card that Sligh cannot have around,
Mm-hmm.
especially with 4 lands for the opponent. But yeah, I did not win that match, unfortunately. That was in the LobsterCon side event. All right, so just trying to figure out. It looks like he lost his mountain, so I'm guessing that would have been to a lava dart. Another very, very important card in this match, but with 19 lands in the deck, it comes at a steep, steep price as well. And since you have less baubles to draw more lands off the top of your deck, um, it usually needs to be a very well calculated move, but most of the time it's worth it. You target the strong cards, the cards you cannot have around, like a Well Wisher.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can't leave
Can't
that
let
line
card die.
alone.
Oh, looks like another mountain goes away. But it also looks like Pup is at 8 points of damage and counting. So,
Wow. Yep. Yep.
oh, and Lavamancer beats. Yeah, I guess the Giver is a bit less full, and the Barbarian Ring isn't
Yeah. That was one of
doing
the
much.
combos that always makes me curious. It's like you have uh, the mage to take cards, shoot some damage through, but then you also have cards that have threshold. So it's sort of like this dichotomy of you want it this way, but then you also want it that way. It's
Yeah.
barbarian
Uh,
tends to be at more at the end of the game. I'm assuming. Right. That's usually when I
yes.
see it go.
Yeah. And usually, I don't know how, but it seems like by some cosmic powers, even though you've emptied the fetches that you've sacrificed early on and the fanatics that you've done, somehow by the time it's time for the end of the game, you do the 2 mountains, the fire blasts, you do
Yeah.
a bolt that gives you like 4 cards,
Yeah.
and if if the lavamancer died and he's already in the graveyard, somehow you make it to it. But
Yeah.
I would say that the barbarian ring is not the most important part of that game finishing,
Yeah.
because usually when you have the blast and you have the bolt, see,
Mm-hmm.
and this is that threshold. I see that the end is down to 7, which is exactly when you become really,
Yeah.
really afraid. Uh, because death can come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks like it just arrived. Ooh, ball lightning. Oh, that's Yeah, 2-0. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
something that Elves has a hard time answering. Um,
Looks like, and there's the
well,
match.
yeah. Oh, uh,
I don't know if I would have picked.
that's
I don't
something
know
that
who I would have
surprised.
picked. Like who at the start did you think was better positioned? I've never played either of the decks. I've played against them, so I'm like,
Yeah. Okay, so funny enough, the one time that I played Aaron and I was on Sly and he was on Elf and he's like, "Hey, are you playing are you on Sly?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "That's unfortunate. Many people play that deck." And yeah, when I told Jens that I'm playing against Aaron and I am on Sly and he's on Elves, he's like, "Ha, send him my best wishes." No, I definitely I know that it's a very very tough matchup for Elves
Hmm.
because Sly is so consistent, it's so resilient, and it's an uphill battle.
Yeah.
I was surprised to see how Jens took game one because
Mm.
usually when I lose with Sly against Elves, it's because the match was really really grindy. But
Mm.
it seems that Jens was still able to be on the aggro plan and he was still able to sneak in those points of damage. He didn't have to have the match last super super long. Else is able to punch through. It is able to pack a lot of damage, but usually that's just because it's able to get away from Undersly, and it's very very hard to get away from a deck that's basically nothing but burn
Yeah.
and and efficient creatures. Um, I mean, ball lightning is obviously a fantastic card for Sly, and if you have multiple of those, it's really hard to come back.
Yeah.
But I would say Sly is generally favored against elves. It
Mm.
keeps it in check, keeps it from running away. That's why the meta game in Premodern is so awesome.
It looks
You have
like.
so many decks that keep other decks in balance, and so many other decks that destroy those decks. And I think it was you mentioned on an episode of the Premodcast. You were saying that if people are using like old sideboard plans or they're not using everything that's available to them,
Yeah.
um,
I'm always one of those guys that finds jank and good jank. It's like I wouldn't play conversion. It'd be hilarious to play conversion against Sly. Like you have planes, and but there there's definitely cards out there that is like black doesn't have gloom, but gloom seems like it might be useful against some decks, just as dystopia is. It's not always the best, but it depends on what you're playing against. You have to know what the meta
hmm,
is to make a call and say is this one good or is that one good? Is
right.
it's like is your Tormod's Crypt the best option or is Phyrexian Furnace the best option at this time? Things like
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. And I think that's so this is a bit of a rant, but when I joined Premodern, like the first thing that I bought was the Brian Selden World Championship decks, and that was in August. So after the professor's video came out,
Mm-hmm.
because I was sure like, oh no, Premodern, the cat is out of the bag. All the cards are going to be super expensive, barely dinked it. But literally that was the month that we had like four elves deck in the top eight. Elves won.
Yeah.
Sorry, four elves in the top 16, two in the top eight, two in the top 16. Elves won, and the next day somebody posts the ban hammer, and they're saying let's ban something in elves, and I
Yeah.
was like, please don't hate the survival. I just spent like a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like no, don't
But
target that.
I was really happy that we didn't ban anything. That just
Yeah.
shows you how healthy the format is. People knew that yeah, you can ban something. You can try to go for the cradles. You can try to go for the symbiotes. But a lot of people seem to think that the card, if you were to ban something and you
Mm.
wanted to neuter elves, it would be the anger
Hmm.
because it doesn't hurt elves as much. It just keeps it from running
Yeah.
away with things. It would probably hurt angry trade wind survival, but
Yeah.
it still is trade wind survival, which is also not the worst decks because some games you play without the anger or anger gets Tormod gripped away. You
Yeah.
can't do much about that. But
Mm.
yeah, I think that would probably be a very good way of keeping the format healthy. But even then, it would end up being unnecessary just because of
Yeah.
Sly being around.